Okay, so hey everyone, good morning, welcome, and thank you for being here with us today. My name is Maria Clara, and I am your host for today, and I am part of the team at Elefante RevOps. Today's webinar is all about fixing something most companies don't even realize is broken, and it's their funnel. So today's workshop is about why your funnel is costing you revenue, the bolts I fixed with HubSpot and Salesforce. And that's exactly what we're going to show you. Not just why the Bowtie Funnel is such a powerful framework, but how to actually build and operationalize it using the tools you already have. So whether you're in marketing, whether you're in sales, of course, RevOps, this session is designed to give you real example, clear definitions, and actionable steps to clean up your buyer's journey and stop revenue from leaking through the cracks. So here's our agenda. We're gonna be covering what's the Bowtie funnel and why now. Define your buyer's journey in a low touch, mid touch, and high touch. HubSpot and Salesforce tips and tricks to make this work in practice. Of course, a live demo, and we're all setting up inside HubSpot. And at last, of course, the Q&A to tackle your specific questions. And finally, some next steps if you want to keep building on what you learned today. So let me introduce you to today's speaker, Pedro Miquelasso. Pedro is a certified revenue architect by Winning by Design, and honestly, one of the most practical RevOps mind we have worked with. So he has been in tech space for over 11 years, from sales development to account management. And for the last 6 years, he has been deep in RevOps. So he's got 4 Salesforce certification, 20 HubSpot certification, and he's passionate about making complex RevOps challenges feel simple and actionable. So today he's gonna walk you through how actually bring this bowtie model to life inside your CRM so you can align your tools, your teams, and your entire buyer's journey. So Pedro, welcome and over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to talk about boot-time model, especially a little bit about how to set up these inside of HubSpot and Salesforce. So if you are using HubSpot as your CRM or Salesforce or even like both, I think it may be helpful for you. To talk about to understand like what is the bow-tie model, we need to understand a little bit like what is the actual traditional funnel. So probably you are familiar with this funnel. This is like the traditional marketing and sales funnel. This is not There is nothing wrong with this, honestly. This is like a really good, I would say the boot-time model is the v2 of this version, because honestly the traditional funnel give us a really good visibility of the buyer journey. So as you can see, we have awareness, we have education and selection, and finally revenue. And here you can see, okay, in the awareness period, we have prospect and we have leads. So what do we call like a top of the funnel? Between lead and opportunity, we have education, what do we call like a mid of the funnel. So this is where here is where like the normally the pre-sales team works, or sometimes like a sales team as a whole. And then we have selection, which is like the bottom of the funnel, where you have opportunities and you are trying to move your initial customers from opportunities to actual closed won deals and clients. So this is really good. Give us a visibility of the traditional funnel, but the issue here it's not sustainable, um, because there's no way to keep growing a company rely on the acquisition part of your business only. There's no way to rely on new business only, and try to force or stress your sales process, if because it's a mathematical issue, or mathematical matters, I would say. So that's why a lot of companies, they change a little bit these they change from this traditional marketing funnel to the Bowtie model. So as you can see, this is like the Bowtie model. We have the same stages of the traditional funnel. The only thing we are doing here is like flip them to give us a good visibility of the right side of your business. So as I said, it's not sustainable. You know, keep on rely your growth on the acquisition part only. Now, if you want to grow your revenue in a sustainable way, you need to understand and develop really well the retention and expansion part of your buyer journey. So that's why you need to consider the boot-time model since the beginning. If you don't have, like, Pedro, I don't have account manager, I don't have a customer experience team, I don't have like a customer success team. I think you should like set your CRM since the beginning, taking this in consideration in case of you hire someone in a year, 2 years, at least your system is ready to is ready for is already adapted to this reality. So the boot-time model here, you have acquisition, retention, expansion, and as you can see, we have three main metrics. So we have the what we call the conversion, we have velocity, and we have the actual performance, which is tied to the number of leads you are able to create awareness, uh, to the number of like current clients you are able to expand. Um, so yeah, just a quick recap here. This is the traditional funnel. It's really good, but the issue today, there's no way to run a business have visibility only of the acquisition part. You need to develop and have visibility of your retention and expansion experience. Um, this is the only way to grow your company and your revenue in a sustainable path, because it's expensive. It's expensive to attract new clients, but it's not so expensive to expand or retain like an existing client. Um, and like especially in the moment we are today, there's no like there's ads is expensive, especially like page type of campaigns is expensive. So yeah, more than any time before, like it's super important to talk about retention and expansion, and take this in consideration before you build your HubSpot, Salesforce, or you need to take this in consideration to revamp your process today. So this is the mapping. So this is the map we use internally. We use Lucid Charge, and as you can see, we are using the Winnie by Design template. Honestly, we clean it up a little bit. If you are like a Lucid client, you can go to your Lucid, go to templates, and search by Winnie by Design, and probably you will have access to templates similar to this one. This one we change a little bit. So as you can see, we have we have four tabs here, and all of them they are like the Bowtie model. The difference is this one, the motion, because the Bowtie model will be the same for any type of company. It give us a really good foundation to be able to metrify your acquisition, retention, expansion. But if you have like a high touch motion, the metrics and on probably the terms, um, they are different than like a mid touch, which is different than a low touch, and it's a different than like a no recurrent motion. So on this one we develop here internally because we have clients where there's no like a recurrent type of revenue. For example, law firms. So this is like the Bowtie model developed internally to give to our clients really good awareness of their revenue machine, but at the same time don't lose like the Bowtie model as their foundation. The reason why it's important as well is because, as you can see here, depends of your motion, you have different benchmarking. So for example, in high touch, you have different sales cycle, you have different like conversions, you have different retentions. Same thing for mid touch motion, and same thing for example, low touch motion, which it would be companies like PLG that use like PLG strategy. So this is important to align the expectations regarding the where we should centralize our effort. Okay, because let's say in high touch normally, as like it's a longer sales cycle, high touch, you need to focus a little bit more on the acquisition part of your business than like a retention expansion. The reason why is because normally this type of business, they don't have issues with retention expansion. Like if you are buying like I don't know, ERP system like Oracle or a SAP, like it's hard to move from there, because it's expensive. You need to hire like a consultant company to do this for you. So there's a lot of reasons why high touchy type of motion, they don't have a lot of issues with retention expansion. But it's a challenge. It keep it being like a challenge for any of them, but it's hard to leave once you become a client. So in this case, you need to focus a little bit more on the acquisition part of your business. If you are using a mid side, a mid touch, sorry, a mid touch. So you are like a SaaS B2B traditional company. In this case, yeah, probably you need a little bit more balance between acquisition, retention, expansion. So probably in depends of your period of as a company, you need to focus a little bit more on acquisition. But after that, probably you need to focus on retention and expansion. So that's why like SaaS companies, normally like SaaS companies, they have more challenge. They face more challenge to set up these, and they face more challenge to metrify their buyer journey as a whole. Then you can maybe you are low touch. Let's say you are like a PLG. In this case we are using Canva, or we are using like a Lucid, where you can go to the website and you can click and buy something like by yourself. You don't need to talk with someone. Normally in these type of companies, you need to focus a little bit more on the retention expansion, which is interesting because the sales cycle is so short, it's so fast that normally you have the volume and the velocity enough to stress your right side of the bull-time model. And and normally low touch, the target is not like high. So for me as a user, as a client, it's super easy to cancel my subscription in Canva and change the platform. So that's why this type of companies, they need to focus a little bit more on retention expansion, um, to guarantee a really good experience, keep these clients, and kind of building build like a stronger relationship and don't let them go. Like a good example is like Netflix, so it's easy, as a user, cancel the Netflix subscription and sign the, I don't know, Amazon Prime or HBO and other streams, because it's kind of it's not expensive, it's cheap, you can change. So they need to focus on the client, they need to focus a little bit more on the expansion and retention. So that's why now it's common to go to, for example, Netflix, and you need to pay more to avoid interruptions in the middle of the movie and this kind of stuff. Then like we have no recurring, um, which which is interesting, an interesting case, because in this specific use case, you are not like generating, you are not generating the recurring revenue from the same client, but this type of visibility give us an opportunity to understand um, how we can perform, um, a referral program, for example, and make it like have more clients from the same from one existing client. So this is a little bit a different, like a different approach, and as you can see on all of them, you have a couple of metrics already to discuss. So in my opinion, the first thing you need to do as a team is discuss, understand if you have a high touch, mid touch, or low touch. Sometimes you have both. Some companies they have more than one. Some companies they have a three, two. So it's important to understand each of them. Each of them requires like a different approach and a different way to track the metrics. And even in terms of strategy, each of them, as I said, requires like a different approach, because some of them, like in high touch, you need to focus on acquisition. Mid touch, maybe you need a better balance. At some point you need to shift your focus from acquisition to retention and expansion. And low touch, probably you need to focus a little bit more on the retention expansion, based on the ticket is lower, and then like it's easy to change the platform. Great. So that said, quick recap: we talk a little bit about traditional funnel, we talk a little bit about the multi model and why it's important, and we talk about like a low touch, mid touch, high touch, a couple of things you need to consider when we are talking about implementing the multi model inside of your CRM. Now let's talk about tips and tricks. This is a little bit, this like for tips and tricks I took from my experience. So trust me, it's not like generated by AI. All of this stuff here, I'm experiencing like every day, and so I hope it may be helpful for you. The first thing and now we are changing a little bit from the more theoretical, the theory, to the real life challenge. And one of the challenges, most of my clients they were facing, is how to set up the life cycle or the boot-time model between HubSpot and Salesforce. So, there's a lot of companies that use like HubSpot as their marketing platform, and they use Salesforce as their sales platform. And then in this case, we need like a better we need to consider a couple of things to don't lose the track between awareness to education and even like the right side of the boot-time model. Some of the companies they use like Salesforce, HubSpot for marketing, Salesforce for sales, and they use like I don't know Zendesk or a different platform for the right side of the boot-time model. And this is tricky because in this case we are trying to measure these three metrics I mentioned in the beginning. And if you don't consider a couple of things, it will be probably you will be frustrated by the trying to set up the boot-time model. So the first thing I would say is lead object. So as you know, Salesforce has both lead and contacts, and normally it's a issue for most of the clients because it's it's a high risk to generating duplicates. And if you decide to keep leads and contacts, no matter like the like data quality implications, the other challenge you will face is a fragment of your like funnel. So what happened is, let's say I'm using HubSpot to for like say a marketing strategy and Salesforce for sales. And let's say someone submitted a form in my website, it will be synced inside of HubSpot. The HubSpot will sync this contact inside of Salesforce as a lead. So at this point, probably this lead will be IMQL if we talk about if we use here, or it will be like in the education phase. Then normally you convert the lead inside of Salesforce to a contact account opportunity, and they will be in a different stage here, probably selection. The problem of this is in Salesforce there is no way to report both leads and contacts. So the issue of this is you probably need like a one report to show the number of MQLs, and a different report for like SQLs, SALs, and opportunities. So the my recommendation would be remove leads if you are using Salesforce and use only contacts. Otherwise, as I said, you need to build like different reports to track different things in different objects, which may or may not be a issue for you, but you will never have like the opportunity to see the entire funnel in one report, because some of your MQLs they are in lead object and some of them they are in contact object. And honestly, I'm not like talking about like the data quality itself, which is a different problem, because sometimes what may happen is you have Pedro as a lead and Pedro as a contact, and Pedro contacts it's in like an advanced stage of your buyer journey, and Pedro's leads in like in the early stage of your buyer journey, and then like the numbers don't match. It's tough. So my recommendation would be remove leads probably from your Salesforce. The other thing I would say is a custom object. So if you decide to keep leads inside of Salesforce, my recommendation would be building a custom object, a lifecycle custom object to cover this gap between leads and contacts. So in this way, you can use one report to one report to report your actual buyer journey and funnel. It requires a lot of work. Okay, that's why maybe you need to consider remove leads from your Salesforce. And like the custom object will not like solve the data quality issue. So yeah, but if you want to keep Pedro, I need to keep leads and contacts inside of Salesforce, then my recommendation would be creating a custom object. Even honestly, even inside of HubSpot, you may need to consider build like a custom object. The reason why is this one, the 31. Unfortunately, as you know, if you are a HubSpot user, you know that HubSpot they have by default, and I will show you a little bit. Like HubSpot, they already have like a life cycle default properties, but unfortunately, these properties they are not. You can't override them. You can't update them via integrations, via imports, or manually. There is no way to update them. So, in this case, what you need to do, let's say you have a lot of history inside of your HubSpot already. In this case, you need to make you need to make a tough decision, or you should, or you like, or you know export the data in a spreadsheet and try to build like the reports out of the HubSpot, or and set up the full like life cycle following the best practice and tracking this data moving forward, as I'm going to show in a couple minutes. Or you need to build life cycle fields. You need to build a custom life cycle fields for each stage and build a bunch of like workflows, a lot of things. So in this case, then like you can overwrite, you can like change manually, you can update via import or integration. I would, yeah, I would recommend this if you don't, um, if you want to, but it's a lot of work as well, and there's always a risk of like rely on workflows, so if someone changes your workflow, it may break your life cycle. There's a couple of nuances involved on these, but as long you have a really good um, data management, like permission sets inside of HubSpot, it may be like a good solution. um, and document your life cycle process. I know it's simple, but a lot of people they have different definitions of a lead. For example, they have different definitions of MQL. They have different definitions of SAL, SQL, opportunity. They have different like definitions. So I think it's super important use mapping here. So as I show, we have this mapping we are using internally, and understand if everybody's aligned on the terminology. So okay, what means like a prospect or a lead? What means like a MQL? What is like a SQL, SAL, and document this inside of a table here, including like entry criteria, exit criteria, what they need to do. Honestly, in terms of life cycle, ideally nobody should like change this the life cycle manually. The life cycle should be always automatically changed by a specific trigger. I know it seems like a super simple chip, but yeah, I you will be probably will be surprised of there's a lot of like interpretations, different interpretations probably inside of your team. So it's important to align what is the definitions, document this, and then like moving forward. Um, so again, one just a recap: lead your object inside of Salesforce. It's tricky. Normally, it's there's a lot of like data quality issues involved in this. So my initial recommendation would be understand if it's it's possible to remove leads inside of your Salesforce and use contacts only moving forward. If it's not possible and you need to keep leads and contacts, then like you probably need to build a custom object called lifecycle to unify the lifecycle data, and then like you should be able to pull up the all the buyer journey metrics inside of one report only, and don't need to like fragment the metrics or have additional reports because you can't report in one simple report. The other one is lifecycle default properties. This for like HubSpot, especially. So if you have a lot of data already in your HubSpot and you want to like set up the multi-model, you need to understand if it makes sense to migrate the historical data into this new process, or if it's okay to track the your buyer journey moving forward following this methodology. Because as I said, the full life cycle properties, it's not possible to edit them. So you need to build custom fields. You need to build custom reports and everything, and document your life cycle. Okay. If you please, if you have questions, don't just share via chat, and we can answer at the end of this webinar. But this is super important. It's a kind of real life issues, and my recommendations. Okay, so let's go to HubSpot. So as you can see, this is my HubSpot demo account. It's a mess. Probably it's familiar for you if your HubSpot is a mess as well. So to start building your multi-model inside of HubSpot, the first thing you need to do is go to settings here. You can find the contacts, and you have like a lifecycle tab. So the lifecycle stage tab, as you can see, this is like will be all of them should be on, because this is the default settings in HubSpot. So the first thing I would recommend is like turn them off, all of them. The reason why is because maybe like the opportunity. That's why you needed a map with your team before, because you need to understand what is the criteria to consider someone an opportunity, because probably it will not match what we are seeing here. So as you can see, by default, HubSpot updates the lifecycle stage to opportunity when a deal is created, or like a new deal is associated to the company or contact. So maybe it's not your case, maybe it is. Okay, but in any case, I would recommend turn off this. The second one is set the life cycle. Set the life cycle to customer when the deal is on. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe you can, maybe it makes sense. Like if the opportunity or the deal goes to a close one, then like the life cycle should change to customer automatically. Even in this case, I would recommend turn off and build everything via workflows to make sure you are centralizing all of the life cycle management inside of one source of truth, and don't need to go to the HubSpot default settings and go back to workflows and have this like back and forth. And by the way, even if you have the HubSpot and Salesforce integration, I would recommend to centralize the automations inside of HubSpot, because as long as we have two-way sync, it should like any changes from the Salesforce side should trigger the automation on the HubSpot side. It sometimes takes 2 minutes max, but it works. And it's good as well because then like in this case you don't need to okay, part of the automation is in Salesforce, part of the automation is HubSpot. Like I would recommend like select like pick one of them and go. The other one is like any when a contact company is created, then set the lifecycle to lead. Maybe it makes sense as well, but in this case, I would turn off. Um, when the set the lifecycle to lead, when a lead is associated to the contact or company, this is new because HubSpot they now we have leads inside of HubSpot, and honestly, the leads in HubSpot works better than Salesforce. By the way, this is a different chip. I would say if you understand that there is no way to remove leads, stop using leads. I would recommend to consider move this pre-sales lead process inside of HubSpot instead of Salesforce because in HubSpot it works much better, and we can have like a webinar to go further on this, but I would turn off. If you scroll down here, you can see probably your HubSpot it's familiar. It seems like the same as mine, but like it's it's off. You can see here it's off because probably this number should be kind of a this number should like mirror a funnel and not like a kind of weird these weird like numbers. So in this case I should have like the a lot of leads, and then it should goes to marketing, like it would like decrease as you go. um, it should be like kind of funnel. So in this case, what you need to do if you are change your life cycle to mirror the multi-model, you need to click on the contacts. If you have any workflow, or if you have any list, or if you have any contact associated to this stage, this like life cycle stage, then like you need to click on this and turn off the automations, or in this case it's already off, so in this case you need to just go and delete the automation. Okay. So as you can see, part of this boot time model setup, it's cleaned up. So it's a good opportunity to clean up your workflows and lists and everything. So in this case, if you refresh, then as you can see now it's possible to delete subscriber as one of the life cycle stages. Okay. Same as these settings above, the lifecycle stage they will be it's default settings in HubSpot. So probably you need to rename, or you need to delete, or you need to create like additional lifecycle stages. Okay, uh, but be careful because let's see here an opportunity. Let's see if I have contacts. So as you can see, I have I have these contacts. Let's see test here. I have these contacts in opportunity life cycle. So in this case, I don't have the life cycle here. But if you go to actions or properties, if I type life cycle stage, then like you can see it's opportunity. Um, the reason why you should be careful is because if I type life cycle stage and you scroll down here, can you see here cumulative time? So we have cumulative time, we have date entered, we have date exit. So all of these fields, all of them, we have like three fields for each stage. So we have the cumulative time to measure like how long it keeps in this stage, the enter date and the exit date. All of these fields they are created automatically by HubSpot. Okay, so this is like it's this is like what I'm referring when I was saying like we need to build like custom fields, because unfortunately we can't like edit these fields. We can't. There's no way to override this. There's no way to remove these dates and like manually input a new date, or update this field with like an import, or update this field with like via integration. There's no way to do this. Okay, so by the way, if you go to the integration page between HubSpot and Salesforce, you will see these fields available to be mapped. But if you try to change something in Salesforce to update this field, it will not work. I know because I try, and I was hoping it would work, but it didn't work. Okay. Uh, So yeah, anytime you delete a life cycle or you create a life cycle, HubSpot will delete these fields, these properties, or create new properties. Okay, so be careful. It's important. And then, in my opinion, in my opinion, you should change these, update all of these life cycles via workflows. So you go to the workflow, create like a workflow from scratch. I would centralize these inside of specific folders, called like life cycle. But my opinion, my recommendation would be centralize the workflow, the life cycle updates inside of workflows. Okay, um, so and be careful about like the trigger, because inside of the trigger it's important to use filters, because in this case you don't want to skip uh, like a customer. To be a customer they need to be like an opportunity. So you need to, going back here to the mapping, you need to build your workflows to enforce the data entry. They can't skip from prospect to SQL, or from prospect to SAL. you know you need to avoid this. They need to go to prospect, then MQL, then SQL, then SAL, then like win. Otherwise you will not have like the accurate report inside of HubSpot. So Pedro, great. I think I understood the settings. Now why it's relevant in real life. This is relevant in real life because HubSpot uses these properties to create your funnel report. And honestly, this funnel report covers most of these metrics. At least at the beginning, like the foundation, the foundation will be covered 100% in one report. And honestly, a powerful report. And unfortunately, it's hard to see companies with this really well set up since the beginning. So that's why you need to consider these when you go to implement your HubSpot or optimize your HubSpot or integrate HubSpot in Salesforce. So if you go to HubSpot and click on reports, you can see this like funnel report, right? And then if I click on the funnel report, you can do the same for deals, for example, the pipeline. But in this case, we want to do for life cycle. You can select contacts, and then here you can select the life cycle. Okay. So in this case, I want to see the number of leads, the leads that became a MQL. Okay. And if I run the report, here we go. As you can see, now we have the conversion, which is great. We have the velocity, okay, and we have the actual performance. So in this report, we can see that 8 leads of them, like one of these 8 leads became like a MQL, which is terrible, you know. Now, if I add like one more, let's say now I want to understand what happened with this one, and select SQL and click on refresh. Let's see what happened. It's zero. But probably this data is off. And if you try to do the same thing from your side, you will realize that the data is off. Because in this case, it's if I don't have any SQL, probably I don't have any customer. So if I click here and then I can click, let's say customer, and the number will be zero. And maybe you think, oh, Pedro, but it's the date range. No, it's not the date range. You can change the date range. You can say like all time or whatever you want. It will be off. Why? Because HubSpot doesn't track any contact that skipped any of these stages. That's why it's super important in real life if you want to see this data and have at least the foundation of your multi-model really well set up in your HubSpot. You need to turn off the lifecycle default settings. You need to align with your team. What is the mapping? What is the definitions? What is the stages? And then build all of them via workflows. And and make sure they are not like skipping stages. So otherwise it will be hard to see what is the velocity, the conversion, and the overall performance. Uh, Great. Um, so that's it in terms of HubSpot. Uh, and yeah, I think that's it overall. I think I talked a lot. I hope it's clear, and now I believe we can address some questions and concerns.
Thank you, Pedro. Okay, so let's open it for question. If something Pedro said spark an idea, or you want to know how this will look inside your own setup, now's your time. Drop your questions in the chat, and we'll answer as many as we can live. So let me see. We don't have any questions yet. Let's give 2 more minutes, I think, if you want.
I think in the meantime I can just like a recap because I feel like
Of
I talked a
course.
lot. So Chim again, you know again, audience. I would say yeah. So traditional. We talk a little bit about the traditional funnel. It's great, but it gives us only visibility of the acquisition side. Then we have that's why we need the multi-model to give us like visibility of the retention expansion part of your business because at some point you need to think about it. It's not sustainable to keep and rely your revenue and growth only on the acquisition part of your business. We talk a little bit about tips and tricks, especially if you have Salesforce and if you have like HubSpot and Salesforce integrated. So consider lead object. If you need to keep the lead object, consider like a custom object to to be able to unify all your buyer journey in one report. Life cycle default properties. This is like a kind of a limitation in HubSpot, and you need to be aware before setting this up, especially if you have data already in your HubSpot, and document your life cycle because otherwise you will waste your time because the team may have like different definitions of each stage. Then like we talk a little bit the HubSpot. I demonstrate in HubSpot how you can customize your life cycle. The, a couple of warming notes like be careful in terms of deleting or adding new life cycle stages because it will impact the default fields inside of HubSpot and yeah, and why it's important. And I show you guys like the funnel report inside of HubSpot, and which is only possible to be accurate if you have the correct life cycle settings. Um, yeah.
Perfect, Pedro. We have several questions right now. So the first one is Luciana, and she says, "How long does it take to implement this in a company?"
Depends of the complexity. I would say depends of like mostly what we talk at here. If you have like HubSpot and Salesforce, it may be a little bit more complex. If you want to if you want to move the historical data into this new model, then it will take a lot of time. I can say internally, my team already implement these for a lot of like companies in different sizes and scenarios. HubSpot is easy; it's easier. Salesforce, we already could do this in a month, but like the client, we didn't move the historical data into this new model, which it makes the project a little bit more straightforward. Even like we spend a lot of time on these alignments and document the life cycle, because there's a lot of like discussion about like MQLs and different definitions. I don't know. Depends because. But what I can say is maybe probably you will. It takes like 3 months to have a really good data in your CRM. Um, like a really consistent data where you can like rely and like make decisions from there. It takes like 3 months, I would say, once like the boot time model is already set up in your CRM. um, and
Awesome.
I know, don't hate me my answer, but again, it depends as well, because for example, if you have a high touch motion, it takes more time, to go through each stage of your buyer journey and see the result. If you have a mid touch, it's I would say in 3 months you probably will be able to get a really good like insights from there. Low touch, it's even like a shorter period. But the setup itself, yeah, depends of your tech stack. But in any case, we spend a lot of time on the documentation piece and make sure we are aligned and remove the silos between marketing, sales, customer
Mhm.
success.
Awesome. Here's another question, Jacob. As you have mentioned, it is more useful to have automation set up in either of the platforms. Can you please make some comparisons on it?
Um, yeah, I would say uh, it's interesting. Yeah. Uh, for example, if you have HubSpot and Salesforce sync, and normally they are syncing two-way sync. So honestly, at the end of the day, it's like it doesn't matter like where the automation is, because you can, if they already sync. The only thing you need to make sure is like you remove the sync errors, weekly or every day. But like as long as they have the synchronization on and there's no like sync errors, in theory all the data should be in both platforms, so you can use like the triggers both ways to automate your life cycle. My recommendation would be, um, depends of your company, like how the things works, but normally like bigger companies, they have a couple of like internal process where marketing team can't like update things in Salesforce and the sales team can't like update things in HubSpot. So normally most of these like buyer journey visibility comes from marketing team, because they need to understand what is going on with their leads and what is the buyer journey, how the things is going, and to prove their impact, their revenue impact. So in this case, I would centralize in HubSpot. If you don't have any issues, like if there's no like internal process and you can easily change things in Salesforce and HubSpot, maybe you need to, I would centralize everything in Salesforce. But my recommendation would be like, choose one of them. Don't try to automate part of the Bowtie model in Salesforce and part of the Bowtie model in HubSpot. We need to have the triggers sync in two ways, so you can be able to automate these in either way.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Ben. It says, would you say that once this infrastructure is created, that is that is set it and forget it, or is there ongoing maintenance and iterations needed for both right and left sides of the bow tie?
I love this question. Honestly, I love this question. Okay, it's interesting. We don't have the slides here, but the multi model, it's part of the data model. So Winning by Design, they have six models. And the second model is called data model, where you set up the multi model. I know it's a lot of models, but and the data model, it's a static model. It means like once you set up this, you will not change this so often. Okay.
Mhm.
So yes, you are right. I mean, you are right in the sense where like we will set up this. We are not going to forget this, but you need to keep the benefits of the benefit of this is like give you the data the real data, like data that you can rely on. So yeah, once you set up the full-time model, my recommendation would be don't change a lot of things. Like don't that's why you need to document this. You need to get like the buy-in from everybody. Make sure everybody's on like on the same page regarding the terminology, the entry, exit criteria, and avoid like new changes over time. Otherwise, it will not give you like insights you need. So yeah, once you set up the multi model, this is your foundation. It means think about like your house. You don't change your foundation, like otherwise it will break things, and it's not sustainable. So it's your foundation. Once you have your foundation in place, then like you have a couple of reports so you can rely on, and then from these reports you can make decisions, further decisions. Think about like a house again. You have the foundation in place, and let's say you see something like broke, and then like you can understand, okay, so the foundations, like based on what I know about my house, this is like the next steps to fix this, what is broke. So uh, don't change, set up this, keep it there, be careful moving forward to change things, um, and make decisions from there. The only You don't need maintenance. Like the only maintenance, it's like the report itself. If you see the report is a little bit weird, it means something is wrong with your boot-time auto. But if you document these, set up these really well, it's hard to have some issues in terms of the automations and everything. And this is interesting because let me. Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but there it's interesting because we set by default here we recommend to set up the boot time model for our clients, and it's interesting because once we set up the boot time model give us like the visibility of other issues. So like I remember we had like a client where we saw a huge gap between MQLs and SQLs. you know and then I know it's not a problem with the automation. HubSpot was like he was updating the lifecycle normally. The issue was, and then like I tried to understand what was going on, and we start to see a couple of leads, and we start to see the activities, and we start to listen the calls, and then like we could give the client the recommendation, say, hey, the team needs a little bit more enablement. Hey, the team needs this, that. And all of this based on the boot time model, because we see the gap between the stages, we see the velocity, slowing down, and then like we could give them this recommendation. So answer your question again? No, yeah. set up this. Don't forget, but like keep this as it is. Don't change so often, unless you have like a new GTM motion. So for example, if your company you are using high touch and you have like a low touch, or you have like like you have like a PLG, then like probably you need to you need to build like different stages to track this different GTM motion. But yeah, don't change once it's set up. Don't change. I would recommend my recommendation. Yeah.
There is a question that Garo already shared, which is Luciana asked, "Does Elefante provide this service worldwide?" And Garo said, "Yes, we provide services worldwide." I don't know if you want to elaborate.
No. Yeah, we have
Okay.
we have clients from United States. We have clients from Europe, from a lot of places. So
Yeah. There's, I think, two more questions from Ben. So the first one is, does the bow tie model work for all organizations, or are there some where the model needs to be altered ever so slightly, or only focus on one side of the bow tie, such as those with only a non-recurring revenue product?
yeah, great. Yeah, okay. The multi mod is as I said. Oh, sorry, I'm not like in the right screen. Here we go. Okay. So as I said, the boot time model is part of the data model, and the data model is like a static model. And as a model, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Okay. This it's think it. I think like consider this as like your north star. So it will gives you at least like what do you need to metrify, what do you need to do, but of course, ever so often you need to make some adjustments. So for example, for our clients, of course, this is like the template we use as like our kickoff, like hey, and start having this conversation. But some of them are, hey Pedro, actually like the lead, it's not lead, it's prospect. We don't use this terminology inside of my company. Or this like this case where, okay, and like this company where they don't have like law firms, for example, where it's hard to have, you don't have like subscription. Normally it's like one time like project and that's it. How we should like so my answer to your question, it's for all companies. Yes, it is. It's just copy and paste. No, it's not. You need to like you need to make a couple of adjustments, because the goal of this bootline module is give you a visibility of the right side of the your right side of the bootline module, which is rely on the retention expansion and the impact of them into your revenue. So in this like no recurrent model, for example, we could like metrify the revenue, uh, the right side impact in the revenue based on the number of referrals and this kind of stuff. So sorry, I don't know if it's confused, but again, yes, it's for all companies, and no, it's not only like copy and paste. Most of the time you need to make a couple of adjustments to make sure it's fitting the business use case.
Okay, thank you, Pedro. I think we don't have any more questions. Before we let you go, just a couple of quick things. We'll send you the recording and a free bow tie funnel mapping template. Um, Here you can take yeah, like the QR codes for a free maturity quiz and a free template on Lucid Chart, which is the template that we use for our buyer's journey. So that's very, very interesting. If you want help setting this up in your CRM, please reach out. We offer free assessments to walk you through it. And if you found today's session helpful, follow us on LinkedIn. We share a lot of things there, a lot of resources, free resources, and tips from our team. Sorry. So that's it from us. Thank you again for joining, and a big thanks to Pedro for all the insights today. So have a great day and see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.